everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the Trailhead. We have an amazing guest this week. And a lot of people might know this company. Cnoc out of Portland, Oregon is with us. And Gilad, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to talk a little bit about your company, kind of what the things are that you all make, the ups and downs of just kind of creating a business, which I'm sure you could tell a lot of stories of the ups and the downs. As you're nodding your head, you're like, yep. I've talked with a lot of people and they have a lot of insight for those that are maybe in the business, starting the business, or even people just want to know a little about Cnoc and what your background is. A lot of people, I know I see a lot of people on the trail with your water bags and your bottles and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I know them. Every time I walk by, I'm like, oh, I've met them before at a trade show. And I wanted to just get to know a little bit more about you also. I guess, Glad, if you can just kind of maybe go into, what your company does, what are some products that you all have, and then kind of how you began.
Okay. Well, actually, my company is Minimal Gear, not Cnoc. Cnoc
Okay.
is just one of our brands. We a pretty tiny company. I think we're now officially 9 people out of Portland, Oregon. And we have 3 brands. Well, 2 going on 3. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
The one that everyone knows was Cnoc Outdoors, or is still Cnoc Outdoors. It started as a kind of a endless experimental brand for me of just, let's see how you make stuff.
Yeah.
Started with trekking poles. We came up with Vecto about in 2017. And then it became a company that also makes water bags. And then I came up with the mud ponds and you were making those. And it was just a mashup of things.
Yeah.
And in, what was it? I think it was 2023, we've split the brand to become a second brand, Direct Gear. Now trekking poles are now under Direct Gear, and Cnoc Outdoors is anything hydration. So bags, bottles, things like that. Anything that can hold water is now under Cnoc Outdoors. And we're hoping this year to launch at least another one more brand, maybe a fourth one. So it's now becoming a kind of a vessel for brand.
No, that's cool. I can only imagine managing multiple brands and everything and at least you have a team of 9 to help you. So
I do. I have a wonderful team. Yes. The brands are actually less complicated because they're all essentially the same company. Everyone employed by Minimal Gear. We have only one facility. It's more managing multiple sites and sometimes multiple conversations. But the brands operate slightly differently. So they kind of exist on their own right.
So how did you get into this whole water bags and trekking poles and stuff like that? Like, how did this begin?
I've been in the outdoor industry for a long time. I used to manage stores in Israel when I lived there. And then I've moved to the UK in 2010 to open my own store in London. Didn't work out. Ended up in the outdoor industry there. Started once again from the store floor. Ended up being a assistant store manager, and then moved to be a buyer for a flash sale outdoor and sports company in the UK. Back when that was all the rage and you was just starting to do online shopping. So I was a buyer and merchandiser for them for a long time. I was, employee 11 or 12. And by the time I left, we were, 50 or 60 people. So it was an interesting period of growth. The industry practically explode, especially on online. And during that time, I've done a lot of backpacking in the UK, some in Europe, and I got really caught up with a route that's called the Cape Wrath Trail. It's essentially goes through the length of the Highlands, the Scottish Highlands.
Okay.
Starts at Fort Williams and goes all the way up Cape Wrath, which is Light Tower, just at the northwest corner of the Highlands.
Okay.
And I've started really getting into it. I ended up writing a guide about it, but it meant that I was going up there quite often.
Yeah.
And in my last trip, which was in 2016, I broke a pair of trekking poles, which is pretty common when you break gear on a regular basis. If you go up, you'll break stuff.
Yeah.
I got back and I wasn't really excited about buying another pair of poles, and I was kind of really grumbling about the fact that it's going to be another $200 and it's not going to be as good, and why did it have to be so expensive? And my wife kind of said, well, if you think you're so smart, you can go and do it yourself. And I did. Ended up sourcing a factory in China, and at the beginning it was mainly based on their design, but I started tweaking more and more and more and more, and ended up with my own hiking poles. And after having samples, I just, let's try and make them into a volume, because I had friends that I was hiking with and they liked them. Said, I'd love to buy a pair, and I've managed to figure out how to make them for that. We retail at about, I think it was 60 pounds, which is about $80.
Yeah.
Great price.
That's a great price.
So I did. I've ordered 500 pairs from that factory. We were still living in central London in a 2-bedroom apartment. I remember we were living on the 8th floor and getting the pallet of 500 pairs, bringing them on the lift. It was quite the faff, and it took an entire living room. And that's kind of how it started. Kind of as a user and knowing the industry and being part of the industry, it allowed me kind of to plunge into it more easily, I think. Sadly, I lost all of them. The factory completely messed it up and they didn't use enough epoxy. So I had 500 pairs of poles, and that was a good. That was the down payment for our house that was gone.
Yeah. Oh no.
And it kind of correlated well with I've left my job in that startup, and we were with 2 kids and ready to do something else, and we decided to move to the US. My wife is from California, so it was kind of let's try another country.
Yeah.
And we moved to the US, and during that move, she told me, how about we try one more time? I mean, worst case scenario, get to the US, find a job, and move on. And I found a few more factories, tested them. We were traveling for about 6 weeks in between countries. And by the time we got in here, I've made a decision, talked to the factory, ordered another 500 pairs, and started a new company here in the US.
Yeah.
And tried again. Gave them a new name, updated design, new details. And this time it was my garage in the rental house and not this 2-bedroom apartment.
On the 8th floor.
Exactly. Slightly more convenient, but not much.
Yeah.
And that was the start of it. Beginning, it was just in the garage and packing trekking poles and sending them to Amazon and sending them to customers out of a shop account. That's how it started.
With that first order that you said, like, I always ask people, like, what are some like highs and lows? I'm pretty sure that would have been a pretty big low, like, oh crap moment.
It's not even the most expensive mistake I've done so far.
Wow. That's I mean, it takes I think people listening, it takes such guts to say to yourself, okay, I'm going to try one more time after having a big thing like that, especially to start. Maybe if you have your business going for a while and you make a mistake, you kind of know, okay, you'll make it up. But when you start and you have such a big downfall, it can be it could be a business killer where people just go, you know what, I'm not taking the risk again. There's no way,
Yeah, this is why having a supporting partner is probably the most important stuff. Part of a successful business.
Oh, for sure. So you went from trekking poles to water storage. Is that the next step?
That involves my father-in-law.
Okay. So how did
Yeah.
that start?
Because he's a classic older American
Yeah.
who assumes that he used to be a hippie and went through the dot-com bubble and was successful there. And it's kind
Yeah.
of, yeah, you young people can do stuff. And I remember him coming to our house for Thanksgiving. That same year we moved to the US, was
Yeah.
2016. And in his head, I'm making trekking poles. So it's a great chance to come and complain about the soya bags. I mean, he was also,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
was using soya bags. And I mean, I'm like everyone else, had all kind of ways to go around
Yeah.
it. And he was just grumbling about how horrible those bags are. He just came
Yeah.
from a rafting trip and he hated using them and kind of, why don't you make something better? I had no idea how to start, but
Yeah.
okay, let's give it a go. And spent about 6 months chasing things around and trying to figure out how to find a factory that can take two very simple components of
Yeah.
a thread and a slider and connect them, which to explain to factories is very complicated
Yeah.
because those things don't go together. Found a partner eventually. Decided to. I had no money. They usually in the world of manufacturing, especially when you do hardware, you have the endless conversation of MOQs, minimum order quantities,
Yeah.
just defining everything. And I think for that, the MOQ was most of it was to create molds. So
Yeah.
because I don't know if people don't know how those vectors look like. They have just different parts, and every part that is a bit stiff requires a mold. So
Okay.
there are, for the original vector, there were 5 molds. And molds are very expensive. In
Oh,
China,
yeah.
they're relatively cheap, but they're still, for someone with no money, they're very expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've decided to run a Kickstarter for them to do an initial, just a 500 unit run, and mainly to afford those molds.
Yeah.
It was a pretty successful Kickstarter. I needed, I think, $7,000.
Yeah.
Ended up raising close to 13. It was great. We had
Yeah.
about 1,000 units. So now I can afford the molds and I can afford everything. And that year, that was 2017, the summer of 2017, I ran the Kickstarter. And then I went to PCT days, which, have you been to PCT days?
I haven't. I was supposed to go last year and I didn't make it. So,
okay, highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Anyone who's into ultralight stuff or through hiking or just this kind of very exciting environment of gear, it's a great place. And that year I decided to kind of dive into that and have a booth,
Yeah.
which essentially all I had was trekking poles in 2 colors and 2 grip materials.
Yeah.
And I also had, I think, 8 prototypes of the Vecto because
Okay.
I had the pre-production and they were starting to work on those. And while I was there, I've met a very nice man named Nick. Most people know him as Darwin on the trail, but I knew him as Nick Rexhaw, who's planning on hiking the PCT that year. I said, great, here's one, test it and let me know, because I needed people who are going to hike. I wasn't really looking for anything else. He originally came to see about the poles, got really excited about the poles, the Vertex. They are like Z-style poles that collapse very small, quite light. And I ended up sending him out with a Vecto and the original prototype.
Yeah.
We have it here in the office somewhere.
Oh, cool.
And a pair of poles. And that's it. I essentially forgot about it. I was just checking in with people.
Yeah.
I gave prototypes to a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And I think it was either October or November, he decided to review the Vecto. Now, it wasn't even available yet.
Yeah.
But I had the ability to do a pre-order on the site. And he did a review and linked to the site, and people came and bought a lot of them.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
It's way more than I've planned. And I immediately call the factory, and it's kind of, I don't need 1,000, I need 3,000. And we kind of scrambled everything and placed that order. And they arrived a week before Thanksgiving in 2017. And then I spent most of Thanksgiving month, essentially, hacking 3,000 Vectos out to people.
Wow.
It was never intended to be I thought it's going to be one of those weird things that a handful of people like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting kind of product to make, because I'm sure with like, the trekking poles are different, right? But with water, if you have a leak or something like that, it can ruin someone's trip, and potentially on trail, next thing you know, they don't have a way to have water if they're not able to filter it or store it and stuff like that. So that's a pretty interesting. So how did you go? I guess you had your father-in-law kind of push into that, because I know I have my sort of squeeze back there in the background somewhere. And I immediately, when I got the bag, I was like, okay, I'm going to go buy a Cnoc bag, because there's no point in trying. And from what I've heard, I was like, I'm not going to be on trail and then I'm out of water, you know, or I can't filter my water, so forget about it. So I got that. And I mean, it's a neat, so how do you go about prototyping something like that? Because it's got some hard parts, but it's also like almost like a soft good type of an item.
I think people have different approaches to prototyping. My approach is to seek experts. The experts in my environment are the people who make stuff. So I relied very heavily on the factory that I was working with. They handle the materials. But I'm not an engineer. I don't have insights into that. Definitely not hydrodynamics, which are even more complex. So I just relied on them. I asked lots of questions. I asked them to find a solution. And speaking of leaks, that first 3,000 units all had a leak from the slider. Which I've discovered after sending about 500 of those. So I've stopped sending and went back to the factory and said, well, we have a leak. How do we solve this? The original version was supposed to have much stiffer opening lips. And which is, by the way, to the day, something that Nick really likes. He likes the original one with the very stiff ones, which is also my third one. That most of the testers said it was just too stiff to hold. So we softened the split. And that ended up making them slightly thinner because of the way shrinkage works in molds. And we were about 0.04 millimeter, not thick enough.
Oh, wow.
So all the sliders were not working well. And we found a solution quickly with the factory, created a new mold, made 3,000 sliders, got all of them to my hands. And I replaced the sliders in my entire stock, was about 2,000 units, and sent free sliders to everyone who already purchased.
That's great.
So instead of fixing the bag, just fix the slider to essentially compensate for that change. But it was thousands of units we just replaced. Get out of the box, change the slider. So I've been very intimate with it.
I mean, that's just you, probably, right? You and your wife.
It's just me. I spent days in the garage, and in the nights I'll take 2 boxes to the living room and watch a movie and fix another 200 of them.
I think when people see a company, they just think, oh, they come out with a product that's been tested. I mean, even like, you look at Apple, even they had an iPhone that bent in half, right? And I'm sure they test the living crap out of their products, but until it gets in the real world where you're all of a sudden in a situation that people didn't think of, or people are storing it in ways that you didn't even think they would store it in, or using it, you really have no idea. And then you get a majority of people come back saying, there's a leak, and then it, like, oh crap, it's at least you had a way to fix it, and it's supposed to like having to just trash everything. Because I've heard people say they've had to trash complete orders, and and from my understanding is too, when you go to a manufacturer, unless you're a big time buyer, they're like, well, sorry, it's on you, versus they'll own up to the mistake.
Yeah, that happens a lot. And since then, every time I've made an update, almost every time there was a mess up of some kind. Had an impact of thousands of units. I think at this point we are at a good place, but there's a lot of trial and error. We are now, I think, officially at version. There were about 15 changes that happened over the years. It's a combination of when you learn, you learn the process better, or the manufacturing process better. There's both the side of the user feedback, which we get a lot and we update accordingly. And also, as you learn the manufacturing process, there are also assembly errors that happens all the time. So you need to update design to compensate for that as well. So there's constant tension between how it's being used to how it's being made. How you make something that works for both sides of it.
No, I agree. So what would you think, since you started your, excuse me, since you started your business, what would you think would have been easy but turned out to be actually pretty hard?
Cash flow.
Cash flow?
Cash flow is king. Small businesses. It's just, the ideas are very cheap. And making something, especially as a new company, no one trusts you. There are no terms. There's nothing. It's just, even for step 0, you need to put some money. Then step 1 is more expensive, and step 2 is even more expensive. And I always thought, it's going to be this amount, it's going to be fine. But then you make something that's cost one thing, but then you need to move it, and that becomes another expense that had in mind. And even when you try and roll expenses, it's always down to the cash. That's great. I have a promise that someone's going to pay me in about 20 days. But what I really need is the money now.
Yes, exactly.
And
go ahead.
No, it's just this. I think it's the most underestimated part of any business is power of cash.
So with coming out with newer products, do you find that it's easier? Because you were saying, like, when you're a new company, there's not as much trust, but now that you have that trust with, consumers and everything else, I'm assuming it's got to be at least a little bit easier to launch a new product versus, or are you like still kind of hesitant as to if it's going to do well?
It's easier to spread risk. With new products. I mean, if something doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. At this point, for us to make 300 units of something, it costs money, but it's not going to break the company. We usually try not to start with thousands of units. We try and start with a small batch. We experiment with it, get some feedback. Also, we don't know. You put something out in the market and people need to use it. Have feelings about it. And then usually we are ready then to adjust, make any updates, and then take the next step. It is not less expensive though. Every new factory, a lot of times especially as we start working with new materials, we came up with the through baller. The through baller is a completely different process than anything else that we make. In molds, it's different places. The assembly is different. So no, it's not cheaper. It's not easier. Lead times are just as long. The big difference is that we are now doing more things in-house. So we're controlling more of the production. On the other side, it means that I have less external expert to rely on. So that factory that will give me feedback is no longer there. I need the factory.
Yeah. With the new bottle that you guys came out this year, and that whole process, I love it. By the way, like I don't have one yet, but I love the bottle because, of course, I have smart water bottles on my bag, and then they get all nasty and janky, or I'm just eventually throwing them out, because flying with them takes up too much room or whatever. So it's awesome to see a bottle that literally is like the perfect fit.
Just a simple replacement.
It's like, duh, why didn't anybody do that before,
Well, I can tell you why no one else did that.
Yeah.
There's a very small, we as people in this industry think it's a very important and big industry, but in reality, it's tiny.
Yeah.
Ultralight hiking or through hiking, any of those categories, they are really, really, really small in the greater outdoor industry.
Yeah.
And the kind of companies that cater to it tend to also be very low on money and means.
Yeah.
This is why almost all the hardware that you do use is made actually by big companies, not smaller ones.
Okay.
And being a small company that makes hardware means that everything is very, very expensive.
Yeah.
Especially molds. Molds are, if you get a mold that's less than $20,000, you got a great deal.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's substantially more.
Yeah.
And as you try and make things cheaper so they're more affordable, it's even more complicated because the molds become even more complex. Because the expensive part is actually the humans.
Okay.
Less a human touch it, the cheaper it can become. And that means that you have very heavy investment into making a new product.
Okay.
Like the small company, they are interested, but the big companies are not. I mean, company like Yeti or Hydro Flask, they don't look at this tiny industry of maybe 50,000 consumers a year as something worthy of now putting that investment, because it creates a disruption in also their operation. So they just don't. So the need is there, but the means to do so is less.
Okay.
There are solutions in the market. I mean, I've used many solutions in the past. What we really became expert at is threads.
Okay.
That tiny thread that's so unimportant is a very, very complex concept. And what I always wanted to do, at least with the things that we make, is have something that's as universal as you can. I don't like things that work with just one thing. It drives me crazy. Everyone has preferences. Things should work with as many things as possible. And if you know about that change that Platypus did to their platy bags.
Oh, yeah.
That all of a sudden they no longer worked with the soya filters. It wasn't an accident. They were about to release the quick draw, so they wanted to make sure that there was no compatibility. Which is fair enough. That's how industries have been operating for probably thousands of years. But I like things to work universally. So in order for us to make a bottle, it required making a dedicated mold that never existed. And that was complex. We made more than one mold, let's put it this way. And if you start doing the math of the cost of molds, it becomes very expensive.
Wow. It's like a big endeavor just for, I mean, people see it and they don't look at they just look at it and go, it's a bottle. How hard is it to make? But there's so much that goes into every product out there, no matter how easy it looks to how complicated it looks. So, and I'm glad you keep everything universal too, because it just helps with the environment and stuff like that as well, being able to screw it onto everything and stuff like that versus, oh, now I've got to buy this. It's like, back when we all had phones that were, you all had their own charger and you couldn't charge it. Now everything is USB-C. And it's like, man, if we could keep that, we could save a lot in the environment too. But, easily the headache of just like having
different
to have
labels.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. So that was, at least was, it was very important to make sure that that's true for the
yeah,
throughball as much.
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
created the biggest issues.
yeah. So I guess what would you say keeps you connected to the outdoors while running a growing company? Because I know that you said you hiked a lot over in England. And by the way, my wife and we want to go. Our 20th anniversary is this year, and
Okay. Almost
we were.
congratulations.
Oh, thank you. We were thinking of going to England, but it's in February, and
Okay.
we don't want to go where it's like cold and rainy.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to go hiking. She's like, I still want to go hikes. So we're thinking now going to Italy in like April or May, so that way we can go to the Dolomites and stuff like that.
Okay.
But anyways, going back to you on the trail, because she always wanted to visit England because she loves the king and queen and the prince and
Okay.
princess and everything else. So yeah, so when I tell her that, she'll be like, oh, maybe we should go to England instead of going to Italy.
And I for my wife's and my honeymoon,
Yeah.
we went and done half of the Tour de Monte Rosa and
Okay.
goes around. So if you think about the Alps, you have Mont Blanc, and then the chain continues.
Yeah.
So the second highest mountain, the next massive, is called the Monte Rosa.
Okay.
Which, in between the two, you have the Matterhorn.
Okay.
Then you have Monte Rosa and Mont Blanc.
Okay. What was the distance on that?
I think so the circuit itself, the entire tour goes through Italy and then Switzerland and then back.
Okay.
I think it's usually done in about 9 days.
Okay.
But we've done just the Italian half, which was about 4 days, 5 days it took us. And then we went and sat on the side of a lake for 3 days to recover. But that was our humor. So
yeah,
it's doable. We try and do that. My wife also.
Oh, that's awesome. I need to get that itinerary from you then, because if my wife and I don't do something like that, my friend and I, every year we do something, and he wanted to do the UTM or the Tour de Mont Blanc. And then I said, I don't know if I have, 10 days to do it or 8 days to do it, but I could do like a 4-day thing.
The Italian side is wonderful.
Yeah.
You can always do the traverse itself as well of the Monte Rosa, because the circuit, the tour is around, and then the traverse is on the peak.
Oh,
and
cool.
So, that's usually called the spaghetti route. It's kind of a mix of mountaineering and hiking. It's called the spaghetti route because every night you spend in another hospedaje, and that's usually like a hostel or something, and you eat a lot of spaghetti.
I thought it was going to be because of like the trails, but it's so funny. It's because of the food.
No, it's the food.
That's great. That's a great idea for my trip then. I'm so glad you said that. Okay, so going back to the question then is
so how do you stay connected?
Yeah.
I am still a hiker. I mean, at the end of the day, and that's what I remind my team all the time. Our goal is to go outside. Yeah. So whatever we do as a company should end up being, can we close early and do something else? Can we spend time on the trail? How do we get to spend more time with us?
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And I do that. I take my kids all the time.
Yeah.
I got really into bike packing in the last couple of years.
Oh, cool.
Few years. So that's a growing fun and expense.
It's funny, you get everything and then you go and do something else, and then you have to get a bike, and then you end up going, well, I need a different bike.
Yes,
and then
I was just looking at bikes the other day, and my wife was kind of, how much is that going to be? For me it was just the with kids, they get impatient after about miles, and I want to do more. So bikes was a great way of us doing 25-mile days again, but recycling. So
how old are your kids?
9 and just turned 12. So
awesome.
I thought I had a birthday last week.
Yeah. Oh, those are good ages. And happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
All my kids are born in January, so.
Yeah, my son is going to be 10 in 2 months.
Oh, wow. Yeah. When they grow, my one daughter's about to go off to college next year,
Oof.
and I'm so stressed out about it. So good luck when they get that age.
Yeah,
So
my mother always told me when I had kids is that all the kids, bigger problems. That's it.
yes, yes, they're easier when they're way easier when they're younger, but you think they're going to be hard when they're younger, but they're
No, you
way
just don't
easier.
yet.
Yeah. Okay, so you keep connected to the trail. What's something that changed your mind about the industry since you launched your company?
Change my mind about, well, as I said, I've been in the industry for a long time, so
Yeah,
I was pretty well aware of how it
yeah,
looks like now, things, how things exist and operate.
yeah.
Uh, um,
Would it be something that, like, let's say you started your business and you thought, oh, I'm gonna like, 'cause you just alluded to earlier that the market for ultralight especially is not as big as the industry as a whole,
oh
right?
yes, it's tiny.
And I think, but one of the good things is, I mean, your water storage is something that I think a lot of people, whether it's ultralight or not,
Hmm.
they're still going to get some sort of water storage. It depends
Yeah.
on, of course, what they're doing. Um, but because I have friends that they don't do ultralight like I do, and they still have the bag, or they might
Mhm.
have trekking poles. And then I think the older we get in America, the more we like trekking poles versus Europe. They
Yeah.
like are trekking pole kings. And I'm
Yes, you
like,
start
why
with,
don't I ever have a trekking pole? Why did I not have trekking poles? I'm stupid
yeah.
for not using trekking poles for years. Um, but then now, let's say you started in, is it 2016? You said you started
Yeah.
2016 to now. What's one thing that you were like, oh, I thought this about the industry, but now I really know that it's actually this?
Uh, well, I always do it, but it became more clear because I also have done that in several countries.
Uh-huh.
That the other industry is tiny.
Yeah.
It's really, really small. And at the end of the day, we're all going to know each other.
Yeah.
So playing nice is pretty crucial.
Yeah.
Business tend to not be nice. It's
Yeah.
not. There's a lot of, we call it animosity, but there are lots of feelings. I know people say, "Oh, it's just business, don't take it," but it's personal. It's always
Yeah.
personal.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and remembering that you're going to see someone,
Yeah.
you're going to bump into someone. Just play nice,
Yeah.
because it really is a tiny industry.
Yeah.
And even if you don't know someone personally, you are friends of friends. Um, so
Yeah.
you try and be both almost brutally honest, but at least upfront about how I
Yeah.
operate, um, and not talk dirty about anyone.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. You need to make a T-shirt that says "Cnoc, we play nice."
Um, the thing is, I don't play nice. I play honest, which
Yeah. Yeah.
is
Yeah.
not
Honest.
really the same thing. You get what you get. It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Well,
And I set expectations with people. I mean,
yeah.
if they're not playing nice, I will tell them they're not, and I will not be happy about it.
Yeah.
But I try and be clear about it,
Yeah.
and at least stay polite with everyone.
Yeah. No, I think that's good to just be honest with people. I mean, I'm always, my wife's always like, she goes to me, she tells me, "You're too nice." And I'm like, I know I need to be nice because I might see this person again. And
Hmm.
then, sometimes I've worked with somebody at one company, and then they get fired from that company and they get hired at another company.
Hmm.
And next thing you know, I'm emailing them going, "This name looks familiar." And now
Hmm.
I'm talking to that same person, and I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah,
I'm glad I didn't like bash this person before, because in the end it was, like you said, it's just business, but just because it's just business doesn't mean you need to be a jerk about it." Right.
exactly. Exactly.
So,
Yeah. So it's just a tiny industry.
yeah.
I thought Israel was in a tiny industry, and then I moved to the UK, and it was a tiny industry, and then I came here, and it was a tiny industry,
Yeah.
and I think that's true
Yeah.
for this industry
Yeah.
specifically.
I guess next thing, can you tell me a moment when a customer story or review hit you really hard? Like whether it's Let's say like a really crappy moment and then like a really good one.
I would say that I don't remember specific ones.
Yeah.
I do admit. I've done our customer support for many years, and I reckon at least half my gray hair came from that. It's especially as you make something, it feels so personal, and people won't be happy about things. People always, anything from a faulty unit, which can happen, to just they don't like it. It doesn't work for them. I have definitely always made sure our customer support is top notch. And I think we still have a reputation of good customer support. It doesn't mean that I believe the customer is always right. People use things in very odd ways, sometimes beyond what's useful for a product. So I had lots of customers get very upset with me. I do remember, actually that you bring it up. It's kind of a two-sided story. We had a customer that ordered actually parts from our trekking poles to try and use in something that he was making. And he was getting really, really angry with Kate, customer support manager. And she just had no idea what to do. He kept on sending angry emails and shouting at her on the phone and stuff like that. And one of the times he called me, just said, give me the phone. I was just, listen, first of all, don't talk to people like this. It's just not nice. Be upset. It's fine. We'll talk it through, but really be nice about it. And then we talked through the details and broke it down. And it was the way we defined things was not the way he understood it. And it was just kind of this, how conversations just end up being, you kind of miss each other. And we kind of took another step back and another step back and see what he was looking for. And eventually he was just, thank you for explaining it. It was just, it makes perfect sense. I like the idea that you offered in the way to adjust things and so on. It was just kind of those, I didn't back down, but I was happy to explain and be patient about it. But I also very much believe in, don't take a fight. I will give you back a fight if you really want to, but there are ways to find how we get to things. And it was just really thankful at the end. So I think every story is probably like that. Someone got upset. We worked through that. I try and make sure they're always happy at the end. Doesn't mean that they got what they wanted, but they'll end up happy. But there are hundreds of emails of people that called me various names over the years. Anything from good to bad. I don't have just one, but there was definitely called names by people.
Do you ever sit back? I know my wife and I were talking last night. We were like, man, we've been doing so many different types of things in different industries. We're like, we could write a book of the good and the bad stuff. And I was like, man, we'd have to change a lot of names on a lot of these stories because I always say this at least once on the podcast, but we're wedding photographers at the same time as well. And so we have 99.9% of our clients are incredible, right? But we always have, and it ends up usually being the mother of the bride or something like that. But we have so many stories that we could tell that are just like, man, people would just be crying. I'm like, maybe we should start a podcast on stories about wedding days and stuff like that.
It's a big industry with a lot of money.
So, and then I guess a good story, maybe I already said one with Nick talking about the bag and stuff like that, but maybe you have another like really good story, or maybe what's one crazy place that you've seen your product over the years that's like, man, I've seen it on Mount Everest or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Usually I hike in places that other people don't. So I very much try and avoid people. That's always been the way I recreate. Actually, what's the most interesting has been to backpack with my kids in more popular places and them starting to see our products more often. And they get super excited. And they kind of, should we tell them you've made it? They're just backpacking. Let them enjoy the Vecto piece.
Yeah.
But it's actually getting their excitement from seeing products that they know that I make at places. Actually, we were just in Mexico, speaking of, during winter break, and we saw someone in the airport on the way back with a through bottle, and my wife was, "Oh, that's it.
That's so cool."
We are now seeing them in other countries.
Yeah.
So, it's not wild. It's just this understanding that now things you make are making it to more places. In fact, the fact that they're in less extreme places is probably a better representation for you, because we want those in the hands of just anyone who walks into AI or Xbox.
Yeah.
And you just want to use things.
That's neat. I think I love it, the fact that your kids get really excited and they're like,
oh
my gosh. Yeah,
they got so excited.
So I guess a couple more questions and then we'll go into our kind of a rapid fire round. But I guess if your business was a trail, what kind of trail would it be, and what mile do you think your business is on right now?
Which trail? I have not hiked enough trails to have an insight on that.
I'll let you think about that. I make a statement real quick about what you were saying about seeing it on the trail. I live right down the street. Well, not down the street, but about 40 minutes from the start of the AT. And I'm about to go over there and do a social media, kind of a couple ideas I have for some social media reels and everything. And more than likely, I'm going to see the through bottle on the side of bags this year as people are starting their hike and stuff like that. So it'll be neat to see it. I'll be like, hey, I just talked to him. So,
okay. Trails. Again, I feel like this is where my lack of connection to the American hiking system. All my backpacking experience happened. I mean, I hiked the Andes and
oh, cool,
up and down the Alps and all of the UK and crisscrossed the Scottish Islands. And I've been to a lot of places. Like all over New Zealand. Not in the US. I've not done the PCT, I've not done the CDT, I've not done the AT.
Well, don't do the AT.
No, I want to. Actually, I don't have the interest to disappear for weeks on end. It's interesting. I was planning with a friend doing the JMT maybe this year. Actually, I don't want to go for 3 weeks. So I think 10 days is enough for me. At my point in life.
A Wonderland Trail is a great one to do. If you ever,
I'm waiting for the lottery to open. That's okay. We want to do that as a family.
You'll love it. I just did it last year, or I did it the year before we got in, and my friend and I did it over 8 days. 2024. It was incredible. So
that's always been on the bucket list. So I think also my kids are old enough to properly do that. So which trail? I'll go to a local one, the ODT, the Oregon Desert Trail. It's quite a convoluted trail. And a lot of it is on high plains. It's a trail that I would say I even moved to Oregon in order to hike it, and I have not. And very few people hiked it. Whitney is one of the few people to hike the whole thing. And there are still sections that people don't even recognize that the trail is there. I mean, anything from Lano, there's 2 hikers, 2 trails, 2 towns. And I would say we are roughly in the western third. Kind of goes in circles. And I think it's the more organized section because it's closer to civilization. And it was a bit easier. And we are now, especially as a company venturing into this world of essentially bigger companies without having a clear trail on how to do that. But we know we want to.
Yeah.
And it's very exciting, but there's a good chance you're going to need a bailout or someone is going to get injured. It's where it becomes a bit more dangerous to play.
Yeah.
But we are very far from finishing that trail.
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, I can't say anything anyways, but I know that you got some cool stuff coming out and everything.
We do. We always do.
That is just really, really neat. So
thank you.
All right. So I guess the last question would be, what advice would you give to someone who's, at the trailhead at the start of their business, in the outdoor industry or as a business as a whole? Maybe they're trying to make a product to come out in whether it's the ultralight or the big outdoor space. What's one piece of advice for someone who's starting a company?
This is usually the answer I give to most people when they ask me about running a business, and it's don't. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Because there's a big, big difference between making something and then the next 15 steps. And making something is hard, but it's not as hard as everything else that will happen afterwards.
Yeah.
And I see that when I have lots of friends who are business owners. As I said, the industry is small. So most of the other companies in our category are also friends. And I see they get into one of three options after they made something, which is they get stuck with a hobby business that never actually makes money and kind of just about maybe pay their salary if they're lucky, but they work 80 hours a week and they are always connected to that business, or they close or they scale. And what happens when you scale, which is theoretically what all of us think that we want, that you are no longer a maker, you are a manager of a company.
Yeah.
And that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
It's actually very far from that. And when you start the first step, ask yourself, am I ready to one of those three things? And I know people who reached that junction and they said, you know what, that's not for me.
Yeah.
And I know people who have been 15 years in and they still slogging through their own workshop.
Yeah.
But scaling means that you're no longer a little maker and you're not and cool. You are the owner of a big company that has HR needs and OSHA compliance and all kind of things like that.
Yeah.
So I would say be ready for one of those three things and commit to it.
Yeah. That's great advice. I mean, I had someone tell me something very similar one time, in that we were trying to scale our wedding photography business because we thought, okay, let's get associate photographers under us and everything. And then they told me the same thing you said, because once you scale it, now I have to manage those people. And then the bigger you get, the bigger the headaches get. And just because I'm making more money doesn't mean that I'm going to be potentially making more money. I might have just way more headaches making the same amount of money, and then I've got payroll and all these different things, that medical coverage and stuff that you didn't have to worry about. And so we ended up staying boutique-y, and that it's just my wife and I who shoot all the time, and then we contract out second shooters when we really need to. And same thing with the outdoor space. Whenever we shoot outdoor gear, we were like, okay, we'll shoot it. Occasionally we need to hire models depending on what the client needs, as opposed to just having me and my wife in it, or my 18-year-old daughter who passes for a really older kind of a dirt bag on the trail kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, that's great advice. I love that. I love the fact you're like, just don't do it. Don't even do it.
It's just, you need to be ready for that. I think there's a lot of romantic mindset when you start something, especially when you think you have a great idea or a product.
Yeah.
And how essentially a product is a thing.
Yeah.
And most of the time you don't make products, you ship products and you bring them in and you do forecasting. If you grow, then you're an employer, you're not a maker. So just being prepared for that.
Yeah. I mean, that's perfect. I mean, that's part of why I have this podcast, is for people to kind of learn, so that way maybe they can be more successful when they start, because they learn from all these other companies' mistakes and their wins, so that they go, okay, I know now not to do this, or maybe I should do this a different way because I was about to do it this way. And now you're like, no, wait a second, I need to put some more checks and balances in here before I go full throttle with it. So
yeah, I would say for makers, another option is to just find a partner.
Yeah.
That's our next brand. Is, you've mentioned Whitney, and Whitney has loads of great ideas.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to run a business and be an employer and things like that. So it made sense for us to work together. We've been friends for years, and it was a great, I already have the business. Let's use it, make something interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. All right. So we're all done with the learning part, and now we're going to run into a quick little rapid fire round. And this is just quick little questions, maybe like one sentence answers sometimes, but just to get to know you a little bit more as well. And then I keep saying I'm going to maybe move this up to the front of the interview so people get to know you at first a little bit more, but I kind of like it at the end so that you're prepped for the other stuff and everything. So I'm going to go through a couple questions, and then feel free to elaborate if you feel like you need to. So I guess the first one, and my favorite one, is, and this can be worldwide, it doesn't have to be here in the United States. What's your favorite national park or your favorite park?
My favorite park. That is this is shockingly a very hard question.
Really?
Yes. Interestingly enough, I really enjoyed so far national parks in the US.
Yeah.
I would say just the system as a whole is great. It just helped clean and organize, and the fact that you can be both very close but very far if you choose. I personally go out to a lot of state parks in Oregon. I think they're really great. They tend to be underutilized. So I will go to our state parks quite often.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next thing is solo hike or crew mission?
As I almost always solo. Even though I've been trying, more of my neighbors have been getting into backpacking, and as the resident expert, I get to be invited to more and more things, and taking my family more and more. So it's kind of.
All right. Next is tent, hammock, or cowboy camping.
I mean, the Pacific Northwest, tent is pretty necessary most of the time, but if I can, I'll cowboy camp.
Awesome. All right. Next is this might be a little deeper question. Last thing you Googled related to your business.
Last things I Googled related to my business. I'm trying to think. I've probably done it this morning. It's a really good question. Trying to think. The thing is, we just came back from a long weekend.
Yeah.
So I came not to work. So weekends, it was on Friday, and I'm a few days away from it.
Here, I'll ask you another question and see if that pops into your head as we're going. So what's one word your team would use to best describe you?
Upfront.
Upfront? Okay. Next is, what's the worst trail snack you've ever tried?
Anything sweet. I'm not a sweet stuff. Anything some more.
Okay.
I find it revolting. And my family loves it. So there's always something, some more flavored. It's just, how they eat it.
So what's your go-to trail snack then?
I like salty stuff. Usually just salted nuts. That works best for me. That and lots of water. I like soup. I think getting to camp and having like a quick soup with some crackers or something is a really quick booster. And then setting up camp and taking your time is much easier.
Yeah.
It's something I recommend often.
I'm actually going to go on an overnight in a couple next week, I believe, with my son, and I'm going to take a can of lentil soup with me.
Even just powdered like soup in a cup.
Yeah,
I think those are excellent because it's just like having essentially a hot beverage because you usually hydrated when you come to camp anyway.
Yeah.
So you get this warm, salty, umami drink.
Yeah.
Because most people will do tea or hot chocolate, which I find is too much.
Yeah.
But what you want is salty.
Yeah.
So those are perfect. And they're so light. And you can get those sachets.
Yeah. Oh, cool. All right. The two last questions. What is your most used piece of gear in your life right now? And you can't say your bottle.
Shockingly it is because my bottle does go with me everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. And I'm using a prototype of a new mold that we are using. So the second I got it, it's, I mean,
with you everywhere.
If you look, none of this looks familiar because it's all parts of different molds that we are testing.
Okay.
So, yes, it's been attached to me.
That's cool.
But besides that, piece of gear, probably my computer. I ran a business out of a computer.
Yeah.
I've been traveling a lot. In December, I was maybe 4 days in the US.
Yeah.
So a lot of computer.
Okay. I heard that Chinese New Year's coming up. So when I keep talking to people, they're like, we're trying to get our orders in and get these things done.
Oh, no, we are now all done.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been in this for long enough. A week before Chinese New Year, you're ready. If you haven't got there, you're going to be there.
Interesting. That's something I learned this year that I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So
it's defining my entire Q1 into Q2.
Wow.
Everything now.
All right. Last question would be, what's something you're still learning as a leader?
How much I'm terrible at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, makers, entrepreneurs, however you want to call those, business makers are very impulsive and full of ideas.
Yeah.
And we most of the time too drunk on our own power because we are able to do everything.
Yeah. And
it's very, very disruptive.
Yeah.
So we are probably our company's biggest problem.
So that's why you that's why you probably have a really good team around you then.
Yes.
So, to help you keep,
not only have a good team, but also remove yourself from that.
Yeah.
My team prefers that I'm not in the office. For everyone, I'll send them emails and messages and they'll get to things at their own time.
Yeah.
But we are just not very productive for a functioning team.
Yeah.
So I'm doing my best, but I would say replacing me as the general manager is the most important thing this company can do.
That's hilarious. Well, that's good. I really appreciate you being on, and I'm sure everybody who's listening right now or watching has probably learned a ton. So Gilad, where can we find Cnoc and your different brands and stuff like that online?
Minimalgear.com.
Okay.
Yeah. I am not on social media. I'm sure that Becky will tell me off for not knowing our various socials.
I'll put links in the description and stuff like that so people can find you too.
Yeah. Minimalgear.com is a place. We actually just merged all our brands into one site, which was a huge project.
Yeah.
So you can go to one place, find all the different brands. We hopefully gonna have another brand in about a month. Maybe a couple more late in the year.
That's great. Well, I appreciate you being on. Everybody, thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Trailhead, and we'll see you on the trail. Thanks a lot.
Bye.